Can you hear us, Linda? You're on mute.
We are now live. You may now begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fran Kelleher. I am Vice Chair of the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County, and today is Monday, May 16th, 2022. Here with me today is Pamela Bird, a commissioner, and Linda Kroom is joining us and working through some technical issues with her laptop, but we expect she will be able to participate in the meeting as well. We have a substantial agenda today with 4 items for action as well as approval of minutes. So I would like to start by saying that I am responding to a request from the executive director that we modify the order of the agenda to have the housing choice voucher program topic discussed immediately after approval of the minutes and prior to all of the IT related items. So we're going to do that. So those of you who have seen the agenda and the information packet ahead of time, be aware that we're going to slightly modify the agenda. The first item, however, is still the approval of minutes, and I would welcome a motion that we approve the Administrative and Regulatory Committee minutes of March 21st, 2022.
Commissioner Bird, I move approval of the March 21, 2022 minutes.
Thank you. I second the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And it appears Commissioner Kroom is still working on her technical issues, but we 2 votes is all we need to pass. And so we have approved the minutes of March 21st, 2022. With that, we will move to the item that was listed as number 4 on the agenda that went out in advance, the housing choice voucher authorization to revise administrative plan for chapters 4, 7, 8, and 21. Is that going to be Lynn to start us on that?
Good afternoon. No, Giddy Paul, the Assistant Director of the division, and Vanita Julian, the FSS Program Coordinator, are going to walk us through the requested amendments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is
Welcome.
Giddy Paul, Assistant Director of Housing Resource Division. Today, staff of HOC would like to present to the Commissioners the proposal of edits to our administrative plan. As policies and procedures change and the demands for affordable housing increases, HOC reviews our administrative plan regularly to ensure that we are adequately serving our customers. Today, HOC staff is proposing to changes to 4 of our chapters in the administrative plan. These changes are in accordance with HUD regulations and requirements and cover specific policies, including waitlist preference, voucher extensions, and special housing. The first chapter we would like to amend is Chapter 4, the details of the administrative plan of the waitlist and the 6 adopted waitlist preferences. Staff proposes an amendment to the first preference to include forced displacement of families resulting from fire, flood, or natural disasters. Previously, this included only the displacement from state or county redevelopment projects or changes to a nature of a project that was part of a county plan for maintaining affordable housing. The next chapter that we're proposing is Chapter 7, details verification process used to determine program eligibility, including verification of income. Staff is proposing that self-employed individuals must certify that minimum 51% of their business is conducted within Montgomery County. As we work to increase utilization, it is determined in determining eligibility, we find that it is important to provide clarification for self-employed individuals and or employers that require traveling. The next chapter, which is chapter 8, details voucher issuance process. Staff propose that the voucher extensions are granted to all customers who request an extension prior to the voucher expiration date for a maximum search of 180 days. The current policy is applicable only to disabled customers at a maximum term of 150 days. A complete search record is required with a minimum of 10 entries. A family may request a reasonable accommodation if additional search time is needed in excess of the 180 days. With continued efforts to house our customers, HOC requests adding this additional 30-day extension and including all customers. This offers more search time and a greater opportunity for customers to obtain housing. The final chapter, which is chapter 21, details our home ownership program. This program will be discussed by Vanita Julian with our FSS program.
Thank you, Giddy. Good afternoon, commissioners. Everyone, my name is Vanita Julian. I'm the current Family Self-Sufficiency Program Coordinator. HOC administers the HCV Homeownership Program, which is a collaborative effort between the Family Self-Sufficiency Program and the Mortgage Finance Division. The program is offered to HCV participants who are either FSS graduates or current participants who have completed 2 years of participation in FSS. The program has an allotment of 25 slots. The minimum requirement is for eligible participants to have a 640 credit score and an annual income of $40,000, which is set by Mortgage Finance. We are therefore requesting approval to update our administrative plan to reflect the increase in the annual income from $24,000 to $40,000 so as to be in compliance. Thank you.
These recommendations will ultimately increase the opportunity for residents of Montgomery County to find safe and affordable housing and reduce their risk of homelessness. And we'll take any questions that you have at this time. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Are there any questions that commissioners would like to ask?
This is Commissioner Byrd. I just had a question about the 51% requirement for the self-employed. Is that restricted just to physical businesses, or what about people with online businesses? Is there a way to make any type of adjustment for that?
So the adjustment was initiated if they own their own business or they travel for their business, as long as the services are conducted in Montgomery County, 51% of the time. So for someone who would own an online business, the assumption would be that they would have services or render services to individuals in the county, but we could look into that for you and see how we can better clarify that.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I think the 51%, I understand the intent of it, but with the online business, I mean, I would like to have that flexibility and see how you would measure, 51% of their ownership specifically to one county. So that's why I asked that.
Okay.
Thank you, Giddy.
Yep.
And I believe Commissioner Kroom has joined us by phone. And do you have a question, Commissioner Kroom?
Yes, I do. I wanted to know, it's two questions I have. First, with the home ownership, would the credit score still be 640, even though it goes up to, you're trying to get it to go up to 40,000 a year?
Yes,
Could they
this
still
credit score.
maintain that 640 credit score?
Yes, Commissioner, we've been 640 for the credit score.
Okay, cool. And the second question I have is about the vouchers. And is that extension, that 180 days, is that where they already get 150 and the 30 days would be added on?
Correct. So it would be an additional 30 days to the 150 that they currently have. And this would be open
That they
to all of
currently-
our customers.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that responding to the fact that the market is so tight right now? People are having a difficult time finding houses within the rent range?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, I know at a couple of our meetings, people have been asking if we could do something along this line. So that sounds great. Okay. Any more questions for the staff on their recommendations?
No.
Okay, great. I know that we do not approve these. It has to go to the full commission for approval. I would be happy to accept a motion that we add our recommendation to staff that these changes be approved by the full commission.
Commissioner Byrd, I move approval of HOC's, the updates to administrative plan and to present it to the full commission in July.
Is
So
there a
moved.
second? Second? Okay,
So
great.
moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? No? Okay, we recommend that these changes go to the full commission with our concurrence to staff. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys working on this to make it one step easier for people to find housing.
Commissioner
so much.
Kelleher, I just want to confirm that it will be presented at the June 8th meeting.
June, okay,
I think,
great.
yeah, so can we make an update because the
I think it's
packet
July,
does say
Patrice.
July.
Oh, it is July?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, well, the
sorry.
packet says July, so I
Patrice, I
wasn't
think it's
sure.
July.
It's
It
July.
is July.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
There has to be a
Okay, no
hearing.
problem.
Okay,
I
great.
read that. All right.
So the motion was correct.
Yep.
Okay, great. Excellent. Good to be double checking us though. Every once in a while, we get out of line around here. So, okay, thank you. Now we're going to turn to what was item number 1 of the action items, presentation and discussion of HOC's response to management letter comments on the FY 2021 audited financial statements.
Okay, so good afternoon, commissioners and staff. For the record, I'm Kareen Brown, Acting Executive Director, and I'm standing in for Tim, who's a little under the weather, Tim Getzinger, our Chief Financial Officer. So today we have a series of documents that we'd like to review with you and a series of policies that we're asking the Administrative and Regulatory Committee to support staff's recommendation to the Commission for approval. And I'd like to acknowledge staff that you don't normally see in front of the Commission. We've got Irma Rodriguez, who's our help desk supervisor, and we've got David Brody. He's in the background. He's our manager of technical operations. And we also have one of our information technology consultant from Technium, Ira Levy, and he's engaged with HOC in support of our IT strategies and has worked with the team in developing these documents. And it's been quite a task for all of us. We've also had help with staff from other divisions, including legal, finance, obviously, human resources. So it's been quite a labor flow getting these documents out to you. And these were prepared in response to a management letter comments from the fiscal year 2021 audit, which were presented to the Commission in November of 2021. And the first there are three, can you scroll down a little bit on this page that's showing, please? Yes, so there, for your reference, and I'll turn it over to the staff in just a minute. There's a management letter that's prepared by Clifton Larson Allen. And while these comments do not rise to the level of materiality, there are deficiencies that they've indicated could strengthen our operations, and they're all, as the packet states, related to information technology. And as a result of the comments, there are three main documents that we'll discuss with you shortly. And once these documents have been reviewed, there are two subsequent packet items that we will also review with you. And from those, included in those documents are policies that we will review and ask for your support in recommending to the Commission for approval. And so I want to now turn over to, well, I should also say before I turn it over to the IT staff, that we have reviewed, we have submitted these documents to the auditors for their review, and they have confirmed that the contents of these documents are, they satisfy the management letter comments, and they also provided some additional comments which have been incorporated in the documents. So we're confident that this satisfies their recommendations. I also want to point out that most of these documents, or all of them, reflect our current operating information technology environment. A lot has changed since all these documents, or some of them, their predecessors were created back in 2006. And so as staff walk you through the documents, they'll highlight for you some of the changes that we're not really just the changes, but some of the conditions that are now new to our current environment and the way IT has evolved over the years. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Irma Rodriguez first, who will cover the first HOC Cyber Incident Response Plan. And with that, Irma, please take it away. After you unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Karine. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Irma Rodriguez, and I'm the help desk supervisor, and I'm presenting the HOC Cyber Incident Response Plan to respond to Disaster Recovery Business Continuity Plan. The HOC Cyber Incident Response Plan is a document that will act as a blueprint to provide an organizational process that enables a timely and effective response to cyber attacks. The incident response process includes identifying an attack, understanding its gravity and prioritizing it, investigating and mitigating the attack, restoring operations, and putting measures in place to ensure it will not recur. This document follows federal guidelines and was developed in alignment with the National Institute of Standard and Technology Framework. The IRP also serves to identify staffs and define member roles and responsibilities of groups, which must collaborate to manage and mitigate such incidents. The major provisions of the plan outline definitions, requirements, and/or considerations, processes, and/or procedures necessary to coordinate an effective incident response. A cyber incident response plan is a crucial element of an organization-wide disaster recovery business continuity plan and satisfies part of the issues raised by CLA, and that HOC does not have an agency-wide disaster recovery business continuity plan. Implementing the HOC Cyber Incident Response Plan will facilitate coordination by the IT division and partners to act swiftly and effectively to manage incidents, protect data, and maintain business operations. Swift and concerted efforts are critical, especially in light of the rise in cyber attacks against organizations and businesses worldwide. Are there any questions?
Do any of the commissioners have questions about the Information Technology Incidents Response Plan? I would like to start out by saying I applaud the amount of work that went into this. I recognize reading through this and the level of detail with which you have thought through this, that there was an enormous amount of time and energy that was spent on this. And I appreciate the fact that it has been formalized. I know the auditors, when they talked to us, were complimenting the fact that HOC's IT department was in such good shape that our response during the pandemic was as smooth or smoother than any of the organizations they had audited. And I just want to clarify that their recommendations were not because they felt as if our IT department was in any way deficient, but more that we needed to tie down our descriptions and our preparation in a formal sense for incidents that could occur. Having grown up in the hospital world where emergency incidents are more routine than unusual, I know how much having these kinds of plans in place matters, and especially the every 6 months training that people get on them by having incidents that you practice on, so to speak, is really critical. So I very much appreciate the work that went into this, and I hope it fits in with some broader plans in the organization that can be equally formalized in that regard.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And
If there are no further questions on that one, I think Carlos, the Chief Technology Officer, will discuss the Information Technology Strategic Plan.
Yes. Hello, my name is Carlos Taylor, Chief Technology Officer, and I am to discuss the strategic plan. So
AJ, can you advance to that document?
Yeah, page 58. Actually, that's the end. So go to page 53. Okay, the Information Technology Strategic Plan of 2022 will supersede the 2016 version, thereby resolving one of the concerns raised by the CLA regarding outdated plans. The effective date of the plan would be July 1st, 2022, and would span 5 years, covering fiscal year 23 through fiscal year 2028. The strategic plan lays out a foundation and execution of primary goals and work in the IT division. The plan includes 5 strategic initiatives. Number 1, page 58, actually, you can go there. Can you change the PDF to? Okay, number 1, innovate and integrate administrative systems. Work with HOC stakeholders to transform administrative systems and services in a way that provides timely, comprehensive, and accurate information to our HOC community, ease administrative burdens, integrates institutional data, and streamlines the flow of information to maintain consistency between HOC business functions and departments. Overall goal is to also improve efficiency and accuracy. If you can change that slide to page 60. The second is to enhance technology system and services. IT would lead HOC-wide efforts to design, build, support state-of-the-art technology that encourages and collaborates data-driven decision-making and exploration of innovative ideas. Page 61. Third item would provide excellent, secure, and compliant IT services. The IT division will be recognized for its level of service, efficient systems, quality services, streamlined operations, and resource stewardship to ensure that services we use meet HOC needs. Slide 32. Foster partnership and collaboration. IT will partner with HOC stakeholders to collaboratively shape the vision, pace, and priorities of IT system and services, and to create policies that balance institutional interests and support the HOC mission. Number 5, slide 63. Develop, empower our talent. Develop and empower our talent. Within the IT division, we want to foster training, knowledge, and experience while also keeping a diverse work environment. And that concludes the strategic plan. Are there any questions? What was that?
Commissioner Byrd or Commissioner Kroom have questions for IT?
I have a question for IT.
Okay,
Now,
go right.
Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to understand the IT department, because a lot of our papers and things under the HIPAA law that you request in recertifying goes on a PDF. And I want to know, where does that information go after you send it on? You take a picture of it and you send it on that PDF. Where does all that information go to? And how can I be assured that that information won't get out?
Well,
Get resent?
information that you send to us for recertifications will reside into
Under the PDF.
as a PDF. Yep.
Yep.
It will reside into HOC's storage unit that would be either based in cloud, either through our Yardi system or our G Suite system. And both aspects, we keep those as a secure and access only, depending on the person that would need to either see said information, would be restricted from having access to those particular files and documents. And the locations that both of those reside also follow the guidelines as who has access to be able to see and monitor any of the information that you would submit. And that goes for any client that would submit recertification information.
Yeah, because it was asked of me to ask that question, because a lot of information is going out on the internet. I know it's HOC, but it's on the internet. So they wanted to know about that to kind of ease their mind as where their information is going.
Well, like I
But
said,
no
generic.
staff member,
Please
staff
continue.
member can say, for instance, my name. I type up my name. Would that information come up? Any of that information would come up?
No, that is not available to the public.
Okay, that's all. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroom. Any other questions? Commissioner Byrd?
No, I just wanted to comment on the strategic planning or the initiatives that you have. One element I don't see, and I know I'm just want to make sure I understand, is it's targeted from the IT staff to the organization and the stakeholders. If we can consider adding training to make sure that the IT staff is either conducting and presenting ongoing training to the staff and stakeholders on the IT policies, like that's very critical. So I don't know if we can look at that.
Yeah, this is Darcel. Hi, everyone. So we actually discussed this and we're going to actually do that over the course of a month or so before we actually roll it out. So we're going to schedule meetings and a couple of meetings allowing staff to select one, go over the information, and then they'll have to sign off on it.
Oh, no, I was talking about adding it in one of the 5 initiatives, that there will be ongoing training from IT to the staff and stakeholders that use the HOC systems. So reading those 5 initiatives, I don't see that component, because to me, I look to the IT staff to make sure the staff and people like us, the commissioners, that we take some type of ongoing training to make sure that we're utilizing the systems appropriately. It's one thing to have it documented, but to enforce required training. So just something to consider is one of the initiatives, or if you can add it to one of the 5 initiatives.
It would seem to fit well with develop and empower
Talent, yeah.
talent. We could put it easily training in there.
Yeah,
part
that
of
one
the-
is reading more like the talent, the staff, the IT staff itself. But yeah, that's one place. Or number 3, because we are making sure that people are compliant, if I'm reading that one correctly.
Yes. Also, we are standing up a virtual training within our Yardi environment, which I kind of had thought would be within the number 4 category, but I think it makes sense to pull it out specifically to focus on training as a actual thing. So this is a living
great.
document, so we can make those kind of adjustments. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Right.
Great, and actually, I know we've been talking about increasing the use of kiosk type technology for our residents and applicants, so training would be very applicable there as well. We can't just assume that because we put a kiosk in our building lobby that people are going to know how to use it. So that's a good point to bring up, Commissioner Byrd, that it needs to be beyond the IT staff. Thank you. Do we need to have a motion on this?
No, there's actually one more document under this section, and it's the data classification guidelines. And Carlos, I think you're handling this one as well.
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
The data classification guidelines are designed to explain security requirements while storing sensitive information outside of HOC secure network infrastructure. They also inform process and procedures referenced in the following sections of the Information Security Assurance Policy. If you can jump to page 89. Handling and sensitive information. It's towards the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Sensitive information that must be protected from unauthorized access or disclosure because of laws or regulation, HOC policy, or by agreement, whether the information is in physical or electronic format. I think this alludes to the earlier question of what we do with the data. This is just to specify exactly what should be considered sensitive information and how one would handle it. Section 3.4, confidentiality and secure handling. That's on page 91. If you can jump to that. Individuals, let's see, let's go down to 3.4, which is towards the bottom. IT users of IT resources shall sign in as a condition of employment, or I'm sorry, users of IT resources shall sign as a condition of employment an appropriate confidentiality agreement. The agreement shall include the following statement or a paraphrase of it. Can you scroll down a little bit on the next page, please? Yeah, to understand the authorization or use disclosure of information residing on HOC information resources systems may result in disciplinary actions consistent with the policies and procedures of federal, state, and local agencies. We'll jump to section 3.2, which is on page 99.
Sorry,
There you go.
Carlos, can I ask a question here?
Sure.
Regarding data, is there a data retention policy?
We do have one in place, yes.
Okay, and what is that? Is it 3 years, or we mandated by HUD to have a specific one as well, or?
I think Darcel may want to chime in on our data retention policy.
I don't have the specifics of what the time frame is for this particular situation, but I can definitely take a look and get back. Yeah, we can get back to you all. But we do have a document in place.
I would say that depending on the nature of what the information is, it has a different retention policy, so it's not blanketed.
Yeah, usually, yeah, it's different ones. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, okay. See, section 2, bring your own devices. 9.2 and 9.3, both of those when accessing HOC IT resources, the personal mobile device, the user must follow data classification policies per the data classification guidelines and is subject to the rules governing data. And 9.3, mobile device that access IT resources, which include non-HOC owned devices, must comply with the following security and risk management measures. Users must understand the major provisions regarding system risk level designations and appropriate data use in order to ensure that the security of the storage location, web application, or service of sensitive information is extracted, posted, or used meets the level of security protection necessary for the level of sensitive data. Adherence to these guidelines is critical to protect HOC sensitive information as the risk of unauthorized access or inappropriate use increase outside HOC secured environment. Users will be required to read and acknowledge the guidelines in conjunction with the information technology and acceptable use information technology infrastructure and resource policy and information security assurance policy. If there any.
So what I want to understand what you're saying. So if a new employee come in or a supervisor, and the old supervisor is there and no longer works there, they have to get in touch with IT so they won't get any of that information out, correct?
Are you stating that the person no longer works for the agency?
Right,
well,
no longer works for HOC.
Yeah, once that happens, we deactivate the account within the HOC infrastructure. So it would lose access on all devices, laptop, mobile, any personal devices that may have had email, like all of those would be removed and the account information on there wiped, not as an erase, but it clears any of the login information, thus preventing them from seeing any previous messages or attachments or documents they may have had while using that particular system. The person that would replace them, they would also see or go through the certification guidelines and the policies. And at that point, if they are required to have access to that particular document or information for them to process or do their workload, then they would be given access to do such. But if they are not required to see your information, they won't have access to do or have any access to that particular environment.
So the old employee has to get in touch with the IT department.
No.
They have to
When
notify you that.
well, when a employee leaves, we are in IT to be notified by either management or the HR department as a employee is leaving. So we would schedule the removal of their account and suspend and remove their access. So depending on how fast one would have their access removed, would predicate who may be informing our department to suspend the account.
If I can, Irma
Thank you.
Rodriguez here, Commissioner, to piggyback on what Carlos was saying, we do have an official offboarding process in place that goes through several layers of removing access. And we all have to sign off on that. Oops.
Okay.
Any other questions? Carlos, do you have more to go through? I see there's an encryption section that might also relate to this, that sensitive information is encrypted.
Each of the laptops that we issue to HOC employees, the local information is encrypted. So if some reason data had been stored there, it wouldn't be accessible to someone who may have gained access to the laptop through lost, stolen, left behind devices, to keep it also as secure as possible in that particular instance. We also have systems on the back end to allow us to remotely erase the hard drive if it does become where the device is unable to be located or confirmed to be secure. So we can do that as also a security measure.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay.
So
Then-
I guess at this point, we are asking the Administrative and Regulatory Committee to join us to accept the HOC Cyber Incident Response Plan, the IT Strategic Plan, and the Data Classification Guidelines for formal commission action on June 8th, 2022.
Is there a motion to have the committee join the staff's recommendation to the full commission regarding approval of the Information Technology Security Assurance Policy, the strategic plan, and the IT Risk and Security Policy?
Commissioner Byrd, I
So
move
moved,
approval
Commissioner
of the
Crowe.
IT plans.
Okay, I heard two motions, so I will take one as a motion and one as a second. Okay, Pamela's second, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Good work, folks. A lot of thinking, a lot of work, and I look forward to all the training that's going to happen so that everybody's aware of all this good work. Okay, we have one more item on our agenda, I believe, and that is, oh no, does that cover it all?
I think we have two. It feels like we sort of morphed into the second IT item.
Okay,
But
so we still have telework policy.
But as a
We have
formality, we should probably go through the technology policy and acceptable use, just so that you can go through the motions of doing a formal recommendation to the commission, and then do the last information security and assurance policy and telework policy.
Oh, okay. That's
Uh,
fine.
Okay, so agenda 2, the information technology and acceptable use of information technology infrastructure and resource policy. I'll refer to it from this point on as IT policy. In conjunction with the information security assurance policy, will supersede the technology policy last revised April 2006. The policies are designed to help ensure organization and business management IT infrastructure and systems so that IT resources and services are available to support business operations. They also ensure continuity and compliance with regulatory, legal, and statutory requirements. The IT policy outlines exceptions and guidelines for those, or expectations and guidelines for those who use and manage IT resources and services, and in alignment with current IT practices and risk considerations. Users will be required to read and acknowledge the IT policy in conjunction with the information security assurance policy and data classification guidelines. If there are any questions, we can delve into. But that is the summary, if you like.
Do the commissioners have any question on the information security and assurance policy? Commissioner Krum, I see you're lit up. Do you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, I think we actually covered the name of that in our last motion. Is that correct, Kyrene?
Partly.
Or do we want to do?
No, we need to do a motion for this one.
Okay.
So
Then we need to
reckon-
talk about the telework policy as well, because these two.
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
We need to have a motion for this one specifically.
Yeah.
I move approval of the IT policy as presented and recommend it go forward to the full commission for approval.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that we join the staff in moving forward to the full commission, the information security and assurance policy for approval by the full commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Great.
And then the last item, so the last memo on page
80.
80.
I think it starts at 80.
Okay, perfect. Carl, so you're summarizing?
Yep. The information security assurance policy, I'll refer to it as ISA policy, in conjunction with the IT policy, will supersede the technology policy last revised April 2006. The IT security policy helps ensure that organizations and businesses secure sensitive corporation information and mitigates risk of security threats. They also provide measures for corrective action and audit. The ISA policy defines common security requirements for all HOC personnel and systems that create, maintain, store, access, process, or transmit information. Development of the ISA policy incorporated changes in the system infrastructure, new technologies, and user environment to reflect current process and risk. The major provisions of the ISA policy will be implemented in accordance with security current and industry practices. That is the summary. If you have any questions,
Okay.
was like, oh man, I was on mute the whole time. Okay.
Okay.
And so is this, Carlos, this is the one that has a telework policy embedded in it?
That is correct.
So commissioners, in chapter 8 of this policy references our telework policy. And you've seen the telework program described before last month. And so it's included here. This is one of the policies that evolved from all of the work related to the IT documents and policies, and needed to be approved by the commission. So it's included here as well on starting on page 122 of the document. It's in substantially the same form as you've seen before. And I'd like to point out that there's one section that will remove from the final document that goes to the commission. And it's a section on, Patrick, it's a section on
The data sharing?
data sharing.
It was the appeal process, Carrie.
Appeal process, sorry. Yes, we'll remove that section because that only applies to the collective bargaining agreement. So we'll remove that from this document, but this telework policy will be approved as part of this entire document. So we'll have two resolutions that you'll adopt at the commission when we take it there.
Okay. So the full commission has not yet approved the telework policy.
Policy, correct. And that's why it's
Okay.
presented here. And we're asking that you support our recommendation to the commission because it's approved in the collective bargaining agreement, which is a separate document. This is the policy that governs the overall agency.
Right. Okay. I did have a couple of clarifying questions about the telework policy. You mentioned that telework policy and approval is not the same as flex time and alternate work schedule. Those have separate approval policies and practices by management, is that correct? So if someone wanted to work from home and have flex time, they would need two approvals, one for the work from home and the other for flex time. Is that correct?
Irene, you want me to take it?
I think you should.
Okay. Yes, when people start, they have a work schedule that is the regular work schedule traditionally, which is 8:30 to 5. It depends on whether they're maintenance or non-maintenance, but it's 8:30 to 5 or 8:30 to 5:30. They can choose whether a half hour, an hour lunch. And they do that right when they start. They continue with their regular work schedule. I'm sorry, I missed a point. When they get to fully successful and they're off of probation, they can apply for a flexible work schedule, which is for a full-time employee doing 40 hours during the week, but it may be earlier or later in the day than the traditional 8:30 to 5 or 8:30 to 5:30. Or they could request a compressed work schedule in which they make their 80 hours over a 2-week period with one day they're compressing, if you will, they're not at work. They continue with those schedules, whether they're in a remote work environment or not, whether they're teleworking or not. They are separately approved. So if they have that schedule already, then it's approved and moved forward. There didn't seem to be any reason that that should be looked at differently. However, there is the opportunity for both the supervisor and the employee to discuss that and discuss how that best works in a remote work environment. So yeah, they're separate.
Okay, great. I just wanted to be clear because they referenced the other policies, but it wasn't 100% clear that you have to have approval, or those others have to be set, and that would be also a separate process.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing, one thing I did not see, which I'm used to in other organizations with work from home, is a requirement that there be some kind of formal childcare arrangement if there are going to be children under the age of 10 or 12. Different organizations use different ages that will be on location where you're working, so that it's clear that you can't be doing childcare and your full-time job at the same time. Is that part of this?
I would have to look through it, but we do have a sentence in there that talks about that. And it's not just childcare, it could be elder care as well. So you bring up a good point. And we didn't want to be so specific as we went back and forth in negotiations, but there is a line in there, I can pull it out, that discusses that a person cannot be, constantly, they're going to be held accountable to their performance expectations as though they are at work. And it was a couple of things that we were thinking about. There may be a situation where that's part of the work-life balance that they have. If they have, for instance, children that, as you point out, that are over 10, everybody's different, because you could have children that are over 10 that still need that kind of observation, that close scrutiny, and you could have ones that are younger that, but that is built into this and it is understood.
Okay, good. And then the only other thing I would add as a question is the approval timeframe was 14 days. That seems to me to put management under a lot of time pressure, particularly initially when this goes into effect. Did you consider 30 days as a time frame to approve these in case this happens to come up while, say, a manager is on vacation and isn't there to actually do the approving in that time frame?
Well, we work closely with the union specifically. I'm sure this is sort of where we're going with it. But if there's that kind of situation arising, we would just communicate to the other parties that need more time. Because how can a supervisor do that? How can they put in their input, as you point out, if they're out? But in a standard environment where they are, 14 days, I actually think is enough.
All right.
This is Commissioner Kroon. Under the telework program, does the worker lose their space at the office? And what time level are we talking about? If they start off, would they lose their time in the office? Would they lose their office space? And when would they do that? Or would y'all tell them that since they're going to be a teleworker, they'll be working from home, they don't need the space at the office anymore?
That's a great question. We have sort of eyeballs towards that in the policy. If a person is going to be working remote more than 3 days a week, then there is the possibility that hoteling could come into play. We have not gotten to that point where we might be hoteling, but we actually wrote into the policy that if we did that the individual would have a locked drawer or a place to keep their work or their personal belongings if they were to leave them in the office. We are not there. Maybe Kayreen wants to speak about the direction with the new office building. I'm not sure.
I would just add that in the design of the new building, that is contemplated, that offices would be shared, cubicles would be shared, so that nobody really owns their own space in some instances, not in all instances, and that somebody who's working remotely on day 1 or day 2, they'll use the space while they're in the office, and when they're working remotely the next 2 days or so, somebody else occupies that space. That was the thinking as the new office building was being designed, and it was because it was in the middle of a pandemic, we contemplated that situation would be happening once we emerge from the pandemic, and so we expect that will happen going forward. So you don't really lose your
and
space.
The teleworker.
I'm sorry.
And the teleworker will have like their own personal lock cabinet.
Yes.
And everything for the information.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's the thinking. Absolutely.
I think I heard an additional question. Commissioner Byrd, do you have a question as well?
No, I didn't ask a question.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, then I think we are finally ready to accept a motion that we join the staff in putting forward the information security assurance policy and telework policy for consideration by the full commission.
Commissioner Byrd, I move approval of the information technology security assurance and telework policy for the full commissioner's approval.
I second that motion. Commissioner Croom.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Again, it carries unanimously. Thank you, staff. This has just been a huge amount of work and a lot of good work to keep us functioning in a way that is efficient, safe, secure, and user-friendly for our employees. And those are hard to reconcile. So you guys have done a fabulous job to pull it all together in these policies. I have nothing else on the agenda. Is there anything anyone else needs to bring forward at this point in time?
No, just to thank everybody for their hard work and for your time and, bearing with us and getting through this, and Ira for your help, and everybody else for your work on this.
Great. Then I would accept a motion that we adjourn.
Commissioner Byrd, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second. Can I
All
get
the-
somebody to check my computer? I see.
Yes.
I think you've got the right people on the line today,
Yes.
Commissioner Croom. So thank you all. And I assume all those in favor of adjourning say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Enjoy the evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too.
You too.